Now, you need to understand, let me help you to understand God's love theologically in 3 different ways. Theologians, much smarter than me, talk about God's love in 3 different ways to help you understand how God loves everybody, but God unconditionally loves his children. And he doesn't love everybody in a complete same way. Let me help you understand. Here's what theologians talk about the benevolent love of God. The benevolent love of God, benevolent means goodwill, right? Benevolent, Bene means good. The word means will, it's goodwill. And so the benevolent love of God is God's attitude toward everybody. He's not unkind. He's not hateful. He's not scary to people. That's not God. He has a benevolent love that applies to everybody in the world. Those who love him and those who don't love him, those who surrender to him and those who rebel against him. And I mean, God has this attitude, this benevolent love for everybody in the world. Then there's the beneficent love of God. The benevolent love, the beneficent love. The beneficent love deals with his actions. That's his good act. Benevolent is goodwill, that's attitude. Beneficent is his actions, it's good work. So God has good actions toward everybody in the world. For instance, believers, non-believers have a job. If you have a job, if a believer, a non-believer, somebody that rebels against God has a job, that's God's good act. God's in charge of the world. He created the world. He's sovereign over the world. And so therefore, the fact that anybody has a job, the fact that anyone has a child, the fact that anyone has a home to live in, those are beneficent, good actions, God's love toward all mankind. He reigns on the just, he reigns on the unjust. God has good attitude and good actions for all people. The fact that a guy by the name of Richard Dawkins, who is a self-proclaimed atheist who tries to argue against God, the fact that he breathes today, that is the beneficent love of God. He allows him to live. He has good attitude and good actions toward people, right? That's general for the entire world. But now God also has a complacent love, what theologians call this complacent love. Complacent, we think of complacent or complacency as a bad thing. People can get complacent in life. Never good to get complacent in life because that's sort of satisfied, right? I'm just sort of in cruise control. I'm satisfied. I'm kicking along. But that's not what God's love means, that it's just, in cruise control. God's complacent love means that he is completely 100% satisfied in his Son and those who belong to his Son. He is completely and supremely loves his Son and those who belong to his Son. He completely and supremely, absolutely adores his Son and those who belong to his Son. It is the complacent, unconditional love of God, and it only applies to those who are in his Son, right? So God loves everybody. But there is this complacent, unconditional love of God that rests upon all who follow him and surrender to him. And it is so amazing. It is so amazing that if we could get it, it would change how we worship. It would change how we literally approach him. It would change everything. Because God, and this is great, because here's what's so great about God's love. It's so great because he doesn't love us because we're lovable. Let me tell you why that's so great. Because there are days when I'm not very lovable. And if God loved me because I was lovable, there are days when he wouldn't love me. To be quite honest with you, there are moments in every day that I'm not lovable probably. And I bet you're probably the same as me. And if God loved me because I was lovable, there are moments in every day that God would not love me. But here's what I know based on his word, not based on an emotional hope. I know what I know, and it's no matter what I do, because I'm redeemed. No matter how I screw up, no matter how I mess up, I know that that does not change God's unconditional, complacent love for me, because it's based on who he is. It's not based on who I am. It's based on what? It's based on the fact that he is love, not that I'm lovable. And because of that, nothing I do, even when I'm not lovable, he loves me.